if you take a system that's been in place for generations, which the current one has been, even if it doesn't work well, even if it hurts your country, changing it is still, or changing anything that's been in place a long time is still a major lift, and it has, turmoil that accompanies it. So can you just be more specific about what sort of turmoil you anticipate as this administration puts into place this new system?
First of all, I have complete confidence that the president will do what he said he's going to do, right? And unlike a lot of politicians, he ran on like real substance and big ideas, and this is probably the biggest of the ideas that he ran on. And I think he's going to follow through on his promises, because that's the most important thing. The worst case would be that he doesn't. So what you have to do is put in place tariffs, as I say, to offset not just tariffs. That's a tiny thing. I just keep going back to this point because it's so fundamental. The problem is not just foreign tariffs. That's a tiny part of the problem. But to offset this unfairness. So he has to put those tariffs in place. When you do that, I do not believe you'll have inflation, and we should talk about that in a systemic, fundamental way. But you will have people who have supply chains that are going to have to make adjustments. You've got some things that may go up in price for some period of time. All these kinds of things will have an impact on people in daily life. But I think it'll be short-termed. I call them disruptions. I think it'll be short-termed. I don't think it'll lead to systemic inflation. And I think that people say, well, what should a businessman do? And I say the smarter businessmen and businesswomen are going to figure it out, right? And they get paid a lot of money to do that, and they're going to say, here are the rules. Just on that point, I've had business people, really smart business people, when I would explain this problem, and they would say, Bob, it's the government's responsibility to set up the rules. I'll figure out a way to make money in the rules. That's my responsibility. But I shouldn't be doing this social stuff. That's not my job. My job is to make whatever widgets and to make them profitable and employ my people. And I think that's kind of an important point. It's President Trump's responsibility now. He's the president to set in place a system where these good results for our people will come out. And I think he will. So if you're going to have tariffs to offset this basic unfairness, that'll lead to some disruption. Over a reasonably short period of time, I think you're going to see this manufacturing renaissance, these new jobs, wages go up, right? I mean, this notion that we're not productive because our wages are going up. I had this conversation with someone in the White House early on, and this is in the first term, and he was concerned about wage inflation. And I said to him, this is, by the way,
we're paying Americans too much.
Yeah, exactly. This is like a person that had his plane and on plane. And I'm sitting, I said,
you can guess who it was.
Yeah, I said, we haven't had a raise in the middle class in 15 years, and you're worried about wage inflation.
This is a man with a plane.
I'm praying for wage inflation. This is what I want. I want these people to make more money and do better and inspire their children and do all the things you do in a community to make the country great. So anyway, there will be changes. The whole notion at a micro scale, in my opinion, it's to take more resources from the very wealthy and spread them out among the people. So a liberal will say, I diagnose the problem the way Lighthizer does. Let's tax the rich people and give it to the other people. To my idea, that's insanity. What you need to do is devise a structure where these people have good jobs and make lots of money. And that's the way you transfer resources and make the country great. You don't do it by tax policy or things like that.
Sleep is essential. All mammals do it, but only people have trouble doing it. At night, you want to get into bed, feel great, and pass out. But how do you do that without drugs? Well, Cozy Earth is one way. Cozy Earth makes an amazing bamboo sheet set that sounds weird, but is awesome. Next level soft. They're temperature regulating, and they let you stay cool and comfortable all night long, and it really helps your sleep. Cozy Earth makes them. They also make bath sheets, the perfect addition to your shower routine. Huge, super absorbent, stunningly soft. You'll never want to go back once you go the full, enormous, soft bath towel route. Cozy Earth is all about turning your house into a sanctuary where you can unwind, recharge, sleep. They make it risk-free with a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. Really? Yep. 100 nights, 10 years. Go to cozyearth.com/Tucker. Use the code Tucker for up to 40% off. That would include sheets, towels, pajamas, and more. cozyearth.com/Tucker. And you get a post-purchase survey. They'll probably send it to you. Tell them you heard about it here. That's good for everybody. We hope you enjoy it. Of all the potential effects of changing our system to the one that you describe, it seems to me that inflation is, certainly as a political matter and an immediate matter, the scariest. First of all, it's really easy to measure. Second, it's obvious. I don't know if it's easy to measure. It's very obvious to people when the things they buy regularly become more expensive. So, I mean, I just want to linger on this for a second. To what extent are we going to see increased inflation because of this?
So Tucker, I think there's going to be disruption, and disruption is going to have some prices go up, but some won't. So let's think about inflation just the way we should think about it. One, inflation is a systemic thing. It's not like your shirt costs more. If your pants cost less, that's not inflation. That's just a more expensive shirt. So the question is whether it's going to systemically raise prices. A lot of people would say, including Milton Friedman, that's really a monetary phenomenon. It's basically monetary policy that's going to dictate whether everything goes up or everything goes down. And this is not going to change monetary policy necessarily. Now, someone might say, it's going to slow down the economy, thus we should lower interest rates. Someone else will say it's going to have inflation, thus we should raise interest rates. So it's kind of a conundrum for the Fed. But set that aside. The notion is that you will increase production in the United States, you will maintain consumption at about the same, and that will not be inflationary. If anything, it'll be deflationary. So that's our idea. There's a model that some economists use called the GTAP model, which, by the way, generally assumes you cannot get economic growth, that you're at full capacity, industrial capacity, and full employment. So if you have a model like that, then that's going to show inflation. But I would suggest that the model is not predictive, and indeed the St. Louis Fed made the statement a few years ago that the predictive quality of this model is 0.0%. So a lot of the economists are using a model that's unhelpful. But so the notion is you're going to increase production, and that will happen, and that is not going to be inflationary. The idea is that inflation is systemic, not individual prices, so you can't just stack stuff up. The other thing is, in the argument against inflation, is that we did it last time in a big way. All the same people said it would be inflationary, and we had no inflation, right? We had 1.3%, so we had no inflation. So they were proven wrong. And then the final thing I would say, if the notion that economists use, which is that trade barriers create inflation, and that's the basic notion that you're talking about on their side, why is it that China has deflation and not inflation? Why is it that the country with the most trade barriers actually has no inflation at all? And if you look like at Germany, they have some inflation, but it's less than a lot of the rest of Europe. So it would suggest that there is not necessarily a relationship between tariffs and inflation.
It would suggest it, I mean.
And I would add one other thing. If you look at the president's program generally, all right, the program is going to be tax cuts, spending cuts, deregulation, more energy, and tariffs. Now, even all but a hardcore partisan would say the combination of that can't be inflationary, right? The combination of cutting spending, getting rid of regulation, increasing energy, those things can't be inflationary. Now,
they're anti-inflationary.
Yeah, they're all
we have inflation because we've done the opposite. We made energy more expensive.
That's precisely right.
Spend too much.
That's precisely right.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there. and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.